Hey everyone, this is the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. I've been getting a ton of emails and texts from clients and other singles about how the coronavirus has impacted their dating life. Some are rescheduling their calls, saying that they are in lockdown, so they can't meet anyone out to date, so they don't really want to focus on that. Some trying to figure out whether to meet someone new after a few good DM exchanges. Some are saying that they are going to completely shut down their love life and put dating on hold. But wherever you are in your dating life, in your love life, whatever restrictions you may have right now, I want to talk with you about why this is the best time to focus on your dating life and how you can go about it. The worst thing you could do right now is to isolate yourself and shut down your mindset around love. This is actually an important and really amazing opportunity to slow down. Focus on you. Work on making meaningful connections that maybe you weren't doing before. And most important, and this is really important, social distancing does not mean to socially isolate. Let me say that again. Just because we are supposed to physically distance ourselves in a social manner does not mean that we have to isolate ourselves emotionally and socially. Now more than ever, people are actually coming together, ironically, and talking to one another in a more connected way. I'm working with this client who lives in Seattle, and obviously they've been hit really hard. And she's actually seeing the benefits of dating online during this time. And it really shocks her because before this outbreak, she was getting no action online. The biggest issue had to do with her image, right? So we worked on her pictures because in the pictures before, she was having these baggy clothes on, action shots that were not flattering. So we worked really hard on getting her a sexier wardrobe and professional pictures. Then she started having more action. More men were interested in her, and she was engaging in a ton of conversation. But here was the big problem. She was having a really hard time progressing in conversations and getting men to ask her out without it getting too sexual. So one of the things that I do in my programs when I'm working with people is to go into people's profiles so that I can diagnose the problems. I mean, it's kind of like a doctor, right? Like a doctor wouldn't give you medication unless he checked you out thoroughly and ran tests. So this is what I did, and I found a couple of problems. Number one, her conversations were too short, and then she tried to ask out the guy. So she was really being kind of in her masculine and just throwing a bunch of questions out to him. She wasn't being playful enough so that the guy wanted to really ask her out. It was very transactional. Number two, the the flirting she was doing was actually too sexual. So she would go from being like a reporter and no nonsense to going straight to the sex. And then she was wondering why all these guys just wanted her for sex. Number three, she would get really quickly annoyed when men wouldn't answer her questions, yet she was doing a little bit of interrogation. In fact, one guy, oh gosh, I wish I could show you the text exchange, but in a nutshell, what it was is that in the end, he thought she was a bot because the question she kept firing at him seemed like it was automated. So, she left the conversation actually thinking he was an asshole. And I told her after reading the exchange, I have news for you. I kind of agree with him. I said, you didn't share anything about yourself. You just kept firing these interrogating questions at him. So we did a little role playing and, I wanted to help her see how she could handle it differently, be more in her feminine, share a little more about herself. And anyway, after a lot of hard work and trial and error, my client started seeing some better results. And then the corona outbreak really happened. It hit hard there. And a funny thing, she emailed me right before I just talked to her and she said, gosh, this is actually helping me. It was helping her slow down and really listen to these men rather than just trying to land date after date after date. So much so that she started dating this guy, and it's all been virtual. They're having a great time getting to know one another through text. She's super excited. She's doing a lot of phone calls, and now they're at the point of whether or not they want to meet. And I'll address that in later on today. But I suggested that their next date actually be a virtual one. And so we came up with some ideas how she can have fun with that. Now, haven't heard how that went, but she was super excited and I can't wait to hear how it goes. So there are benefits in dating during the coronavirus. You just have to know how and what's important to you right now and why it is important, because when this is all over, and there will be a time, we don't know when we will be able to go out into the world and meet people to date. Now is the time to work on yourself so that you know how, and probably smarter than before, and that you don't lose that social muscle. Being social and dating are muscles that you have to exercise. And if you don't, it will atrophy. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Kim, how are we supposed to date when we can't even be close to people? I mean, you keep teaching about touching and flirting, and isn't all this a waste of time? We have other things to worry about that are more important. Here's the thing. It is the exact opposite. Now more than ever is a time to focus on love, self-love, love for people close to you, and hope for the love you deserve in a partnership. Being single can be really a lonely place. Physical isolation will be tough enough, but that doesn't mean you have to emotionally or socially isolate yourself. Being social is a lot like food, right? We need it to survive. What is more, we seem to have this basic drive for it. Psychologists find that human beings have a fundamental need for inclusion in group life and close relationships. We truly are social animals. And the upshot is we function best when this social need is met. It is easier to stay motivated to meet the very challenges of life. And we are no doubt in a state of severe challenge. So, in fact, evidence has been growing that when our need for social relationships are not met, we fall apart. We fall apart mentally and even physically. There are effects on the brain and on the body, and we need to be healthy right now. Some effects work, through exposures of multiple body systems to excess amounts of stress hormones, yet the effects are distinct enough to be measured over time. And so that unmet social needs take a serious toll on health, eroding arteries, creating high blood pressure. I mean, these are just studies that have been done. So staying socially connected can actually be a way of staying healthy physically, emotionally. And that is exactly what we need right now. There are benefits to dating during this time. You just have to know how. So I want to go over a few tips that will help you stay motivated, stay connected, and date during the coronavirus. All right. Number one, slow down and focus on what you want. This is the benefits of kind of hunkering down, having a lot more time to think, not going a mile a minute in life as we all have been doing. It's forcing us to slow down and look at what's important collectively. So before, you might be swiping left and right, numbing out, looking at pictures, not really connecting with anyone, just trying to land a date. If you didn't like one thing, you'd swipe it to the next. In fact, you might just be going through the motions of dating just to go out. Well, you can't do that right now. So it's an opportunity to take a look at people differently. Do a self-assessment by writing out your negotiables and non-negotiables to consider what is really important to you. And for those of you who don't know what that is, and that's like a new term for you, negotiables are, things that maybe, you can negotiate on, things that you're not totally looking for in a partnership, but you could live with, you could kind of get to know that person. The non-negotiable list are things you could never, ever, do, like, maybe dating liars or cheaters, or, people who are addicted to cocaine, or, something that's really, really, severe for you. But write that out and really consider what is important, things that you're looking for. Also, write down things that you do want, things that you're excited about, things that you want to look for in profiles and really highlight. Write out your mission statement about what you really want to accomplish in the next 3 months with your interactions. In fact, think of this time as not really dating as you know it. I would argue that this might be a time to just use to practice so that you build the skills that you didn't work for you before when you were out and about, so you come out stronger. So that's the first thing. Slow down and focus on what you want. Number 2, work on your profile. This is exciting. This is something that can be fun. You can do virtually. You could do a virtual makeover with me. I have a lot of programs too that, to help you work on the profile. Now, there is no excuse for you to not work on this, getting your profile up, or, even just changing your pictures to see if you get better results. Do a little research on what pictures are getting the best responses and do a self-assessment of your pictures. And I have a free guide for you at the end. I'll post that for your dating photos to see, if you are following some of those guidelines, and you can take a look at your pictures and say, oh, wow, I'm doing that. I shouldn't be doing this. And, if you want to take it one step further, I do have a profile makeover session where you can hop on a session with me, and I will actually review your pictures, your profile, the first impressions, and tweak it a little. I've gotten really great results just changing a few things on people's profile. So if you want to just knock it out of the water and focus on that, be productive and have fun with it. Number 3, fine-tune your conversation and flirt skills. Are your conversations all starting with, hey, how are you? Or how's your day? Oh my gosh, don't you hate those? And are you the one that's doing that? Or, maybe your conversations are just dying after 1 or 2 more questions and like everything is a dud. Instead of getting frustrated and thinking that all men or all women are boring or duds and you just don't have chemistry, change the way you engage in a conversation to see if it makes a difference. So, when talking to a potential date, be fun, be light, be playful, weave emotion into things so people can really feel your personality. Again, another just kind of consequence of all this that's happening is we're all joined by this outbreak, oddly, right? So actually, we can start conversations and engagement with more emotion attached to it. I'm not saying just, start as a pickup line, or joke about it upon first impression, but it is a way to join in the motion of it all. Think about, we can ask, how are you doing with all this? Like, that is a more emotional, connected way of starting a conversation than saying, hey, so where do you work? What's your job? How long were you married? I mean, this is really something that we can use to come together. Think about also challenges that you've had in ways of conversation and flirting, and write down at least 3 of them. How can you use this time to practice changing old habits? For instance, if you suck at flirting online, oh my gosh, now is the time to hone in on those skills. I'm working with a client right now on that very thing, and she's really, uncomfortable being playful and having fun in conversations. And I was just working with her yesterday on how she can respond to men differently than just being transactional and too polite. And a lot of things came up for her. She was like, I don't know why, but I have such a hard time leading with that, being playful. And, I want a guy to just kind of like me for my intelligence, and I want to screen him a little bit. And we had a, really deep conversation and where that comes from. A lot of it had to do with her upbringing and comparing her and her sister. And, again, usually where people are getting stuck with flirting, it's the way that you're thinking about it. So, she started, doing that. And I just got a text from her saying, "Oh my gosh, Kim, this is so much fun. I'm actually getting better results just by letting some of those, you know, challenges or gremlins in her head go." So that's the third thing. Fine tune your conversation and flirt skills. Number four, use different strategies to connect. I mean, we have to get a little creative these days, right? Work on your texting skills. And oh, yeah, by the way, you can actually learn how to use the phone. Yes, it's a novelty. You can actually pick up the phone and have great conversations. I know, isn't that weird? We can use the phone. We can go back to basics. I highly recommend now more than ever to do video dates too before committing to the real thing. The benefit now is that you can actually hone in on all ways of communicating with a potential partner and see how you can build chemistry with the different modalities. It's almost like thinking of this time as foreplay, and then the real thing will hopefully even be better. And don't be shy around having fun with it all. I told one client to even cook the same meal or share a glass of wine with her video date. And there was a ton of, fun and flirty things you can do on that video. And finally, don't neglect your social life. You can stay connected with close friends and also meet new ones. Have Zoom happy hours with your girlfriends. I'm doing that actually this week. We're gonna crack open a bottle of wine, toast each other, and just kind of commiserate and talk about how we're doing. Join Facebook groups and meet other singles. I have a free Facebook group, the Love Makeover Insider. So check that out. I'm actually going to be developing some more exciting programs that's going to keep us all together. So please stay tuned. I want to create situations where we can come together and really give each other support. Communities now more than ever are so important. And I think we all have a different mindset with it. So again, this is something that can be a beautiful thing to bring people together and an opportunity to meet more singles. All right, number five, be safe. So of course I have to talk about this. It's all over the news. I actually was just quoted in Yahoo in an article about how to date during this time and be safe. If it gets to the point where the connection is strong enough to meet and there aren't restrictions in your area around being out, have an adult conversation about it. Do the two of you share the same level of concern? Have a conversation about what it might look like, where to go. How do you both feel about meeting out, and what parameters are you going to put in place when you do meet? Definitely follow the guidelines that are out there. Wash your hands, carry hand sanitizer, avoid touching the face, maintain a certain distance. And although this is a tough time because, here I am, I'm always teaching about flirting and being in closer proximity with people, you can still be sexy in a little more distant kind of way. So you could still use your smile. You can still use your eyes. You can still have intriguing and fun conversation to create that chemistry and attraction. So there are benefits to dating during this time. You just have to know how. I want to share with you a letter I recently got. Actually, it's from a client that I'm working with, and she's been gaining so much momentum, and everything's kind of come to a screeching halt. And she just reached out to me, and I want to address this because I think a lot of you out there will relate to this. She said, "Things are getting worse with the coronavirus. Starting last Friday, we are working from home now, and pretty much all big events in my company are delayed. Church service is online now, few people on the streets, mall, etc. We all are trying to avoid contact with others, washing hands constantly. I'm still having dates, however, mindful, and try to be careful, questioning myself. I may put the brake on it for a time being if overall environment worsens. Should I stop dating completely and just focus on work?" Oh, so yeah, I'm sure you relate to this. This is such a real scenario that all singles are sharing right now, and it must feel scary. And I also hear a sense of defeat because, there was some momentum that was gained, and now everything's kind of coming to a screeching halt. But now more than ever is a time to not socially isolate yourself and find the motivation to work on staying connected. So here's what I suggest. Besides all the things that I just went over, number one, instead of taking a break, as you call it, think of regrouping and creating a strategy that will continue this momentum you are in. It's easy to fall into victim mentality with this huge challenge, but if you switch your mindset with being, wow, this is an opportunity to learn and connect in a different way, you might even come out stronger when all said and done. Number two, find ways of staying socially connected via the internet, online dating, do social groups, online on Facebook, and online courses. I have a course actually, it's called the Love Academy. I am launching it in a different kind of way. I had announced it at Valentine's Day, and now I'm giving more support. So just stay tuned for that because I am excited. I feel like this is another way that I can provide some more community support. All of this will exercise those muscles if you tone them up. You might even be in better shape now. It's just like, everyone's saying, don't stop exercising, even though the health clubs may not be the healthiest thing right now. You can still do things in your home and keep your muscles going so that they don't atrophy. And number three, stay mentally and physically healthy along those lines. Exercise at home with the workout videos, do brisk walks if you can, and stretches, pump up the vitamins and stock up on healthy foods. Keep the mind stimulated too with reading, watching TED Talks, do some challenges online. It's really easy right now to get sucked into the news and glued to CNN and keeping up with everything. And look, that's important too, but make sure you're balancing that with some intellectual and fun, things that will keep the mind going and motivated. So we're all in this together. Let's use this time to pull in and, a change to better ourselves. So when we come out in the end, we'll come out stronger, more connected, and perhaps finding love in a healthier way. There are benefits in dating during the coronavirus. You just have to know how. I hope this was helpful. I really wanted to address this today because I know it's all on the top of our minds. Again, this has been the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, of course. Remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And if you want to know more, make sure you go to my site, seltzerstyle.com. And I hope this inspired you today and it gives you that hope to use this time to be stronger dater and find love. And to get you even more motivated and excited, you can do something right now. So download that free photo guideline for your dating pictures. I'll put that in the show notes. And when you do, you'll get a little discount to my exclusive dating profile makeover session with me. This is something fun that everyone can do right now. It's more uplifting and you might get huge results from it. You'll hop on a video call with me. I'll assess your first impressions online, teach you about what a great dating image would look like for you, give you tips on what to wear, and put together some looks that will really get attention. And stay tuned until next week with more tips on how to feel and look fabulous every day.